Believe it or not, you get what you say. What are you saying about yourself? Yes, it's all about you. It's not in a selfish manner or disregarding feelings of others, but being aware that you create.
And march. Keep going. Stretch your right arm out on shoulder and then down and out. Shoulder out and down and to the right. Good. And now the left arm. Yeah, I know. It's a little tired, but you're going to get those muscles working. Keep going. While one arm is working, the other one is resting. So there is a move here. Alright, keep going. You got it. And as the same, with the arm and the leg, stretch it out and then bring it in. Good. Stretch your hips out. Right and left. Right and go side to side. Right to the left. Right and left. Open, close, open, close, open, close. Left. Good. Touch. 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 And then that twist. With the heels up on the toes. And we twisting the body. Now we working the waist. Excellent. Excellent. Stretch it out again. You better work those arms. Keep going. It's the same movement. No matter what I do, it's the same. Stretch it forward. Good. Stretch your arms forward. Excellent. Hips again. You're working the hips. You're stretching the muscles in the hips. Wonderful. You're looking good. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. Very good. And twist. Alright. So we work the hips and working the waist. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Alright. And we're getting back to the arms again. Yes. And if you keep doing that every day, you see more tone. Working those arms, you see much better tone in your arms. Alright. Very good. This is a conference about human trafficking, and at the end of the show, there will be more information for you.
Good. I thank you very much for coming together to pledge your commitment to ending all exploitation of women and girls. I commend the mission of Burundi for hosting this event. Women and girls around the world are victims of commercial sexual exploitation, forced and bonded labor, and early and forced marriages. These violations often occur in the context of human trafficking. Despite a solid legal framework to combat trafficking, we must do more to enhance prevention and promote human rights for victims, including social and economic rights. Ending discrimination against women and girls and promoting their empowerment are essential to to reaching our goal of zero exploitation. Trafficking and exploitation are reinforced by attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors that discriminate against women and girls. Partnership that include traditional and religious leaders, older women, young girls, men and boys are crucial to ensuring lasting and positive change. I welcome your campaign's focus on grassroots organizations. We must find more innovative and sustainable ways to inform women and girls, particularly those living in rural areas, about their rights and empower them to seek employment, take advantage of education opportunities, and challenge the discrimination and exclusion that put them at heightened risk of violence and exploitation. Once again, my best wishes for a successful event. Please be assured of my full support. End of quote. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to introduce Ms. Yvonne Williams. She is founder and executive director of Trafficking in America Task Force.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Nellie. Thank you, Taj, all of you for being here. I am extremely honored for this opportunity to bring to light, to me, the most important discussion of our times across the world of human trafficking.
Move any further, sorry.
The vision of Trafficking in America Task Force is to help eliminate the trafficking of people by providing a culture free of exploitation and slavery where people know their own intrinsic value. Everything we do is now dedicated to addressing cultural issues that are fueling modern slavery, those root causes that are causing this crime to grow. We can rescue all day long, but if we do not make changes in our own lives and in our own countries and address these issues, then we'll keep going in circles and we will not be able to do this. So how do we begin? We must examine the issues like we never have questioned anything before. We must ask why and what first, so we can move forward in creating a real method and solutions. So some questions we might ask: why are untold millions of men willing to purchase other humans, including children, to gratify unbridled passion? What is fueling this basic human instinct and turn it into such a barbaric evil against one another? Why are consumers willing to buy more and more product as if there were no tomorrow, even after we know those products are made with child and slave labor? Why? What has caused this insatiable thirst for commodities and material possessions when they're not really important at all? Why are families willing to sell their children for money? And what has caused this type of poverty in our world? We have to ask that question: why so much wealth and why so much poverty? Why are corporations thirsting for more and more profits on the backs of those that create products that give them their profits? And what will it take to engage these mega millionaires and billionaires to return to society some of the financial resources they've been given to help us? So when we honestly look at the facts that are contained in the answers why and what, we will then be faced with a new challenge in protecting the rights of humanity. We must delineate between what is healthy and what is not healthy in order to protect us from our own selves. And we must encourage enough to implement those have courage enough to implement those changes, laying down our own rights for the benefit of those people among us. Time moves like a pendulum. We move left and we move right. Anytime we address a social issue, we move like the pendulum. And 50 years ago, when the women's rights and women's movements began, that was a good thing. Our hearts were right, but we made a grave, grave mistake because we left men out of that discussion. So for 50 years, the divide has grown between men and women rather than to draw us closer in our understanding of how to mutually respect and work together with one another. It became men are bad and women are good. in this discussion. So I believe that what we're seeing today is a great resentment and hatred that has grown over 50 years in our society as a result of leaving our men out of that discussion. We failed to place an emphasis on the value of all humanity while we were working to liberate the female aspect of the human race, and that was necessary. So we can't continue to talk about having no tolerance level for violence against women and children if we don't include our men in no violence against men. If we're going to stop human trafficking, it will not be because we pass more legislation, though that's valuable. It will not be because we've arrested and locked up more pimps and johns, though that's important. The cycle will only continue because all we're doing is writing legislation and passing laws that tell us what's good and what's right and what's not acceptable. We have to find a way to look into the heart of the most vile among us and see the beauty within in an effort to bring restorative justice as opposed to traditional legislative remedies. When our cultures feed on sex and violence as entertainment, we're experiencing the last elements of self-destruction in our countries. And unfortunately, America's entertainment industry has fueled a great deal of this around the world. And I apologize for that. From movies to music and pornography, and in many ways, these are the traffickers that have raped our souls and our spirits. All these elements combined are trafficking. This should be at the forefront of our methods to educate the public. An overview of our cultures for the past years and how mass media has affected crime and violence must be included in this education as one of the root causes to define the fruit of human trafficking. Regarding labor trafficking, there are over 130 products in the world today that we can stop using, and therefore, in the meantime, at this measure alone, we can end a lot of the child trafficking that is occurring simply to meet our need for stuff, and by calling corporations accountable for their methods of producing products. One excellent example of what is working in the agricultural industry is that of the coalition of immockable workers in South Florida. The Fair Food program that they implemented are standards backed by the market consequences established if they do these productions. So, thank you.
I think everyone is really speaking with their hearts. Okay. Next, I will introduce Dr. Linda Young, who came all the way from Texas. She is the president of the National Women's Political Caucus.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be with you today, and I think that some of the speakers who have indicated which language they will speak, mine is supposed to be English, but remember I'm from Texas. So I will try to enunciate so that you can understand the Texas drawl. I am president of the National Women's Political Caucus, which is an organization that was founded almost 44 years ago by a number of women and some very supportive men who were, even though the men are not listed as founders, that was a wonderful point, Yvonne. The women who founded the National Women's Political Caucus felt that it was important to be multi-partisan so that the labels of party did not keep these women from working together on mutual issues and problems and finding solutions. The mission of the National Women's Political Caucus is to recruit, train, and help elect qualified women to office. Because we believe if you have more women in leadership, more women participating in decision-making in government, there will be a better outcome because you have listened to all sides. You have had an opportunity to hear from people who have a different perspective than if they are all male. Or in the case, some of your countries have done very outstanding jobs in making sure that women are part of the process.